Hi, Cindy. How are you? Okay. Um. Hey, Anna and Joanne and Sue. How are you guys? Hi, Christy. Okay, so it's been kind of a crazy day. I'm just going to tell you, I might be a little bit more discombobulated than usual. Hi, Ellen. Oh my God, Christy, now the pressure's on. Oh, tell Luann hello, Dorothy. I love her. And Dawn too. So anyhow, I woke up this morning and like the first thing I do is check Facebook, make sure the world's still all alive. And Facebook took away 900 of our followers. So last night when I went to bed, I had 2,999 followers. And this morning, somebody had followed us, so it should have been our 3,000th follower. But instead, Facebook like purged and got rid of 900 of you. So check your check and make sure that you're still following us, and maybe send emails or invitations to your friends so they can get back on, because I'm not sure. I think Facebook, we got in trouble for some ads because we said gift with purchase, and so they disabled our ads. And then I think now if you're not paying for ads, they're doing weird stuff with you. So that's my crazy story. So make sure, go into your settings and make sure you're following us, because 900 of you disappeared. Like 1/3 of you disappeared. Hi, Raylene. Hi, Phyllis and Kathy. How are you guys? Okay, so that was my little note here, so I can get rid of that. Hi, Sherry. Okay, so today we're just going to cover threads because Gracie went prom shopping for her friend, and Roger's still with his knee recovery, and Devin is now working. So if you want, I told Devin he's got to come in and do a live so he can tell us all the funny stories. But he graduated from CNA school last week, so he's a certified nurse's assistant. Although he's still waiting for the state board certification. Although they said they don't think he graduated from the school with one of the top scores. They have one lady who has taken the test 3 times and has not passed. So I'm just saying maybe she should find a different career field, because if you can't pass the certified nurse's assistant 3 times, maybe, I don't know. But Devin says it wasn't hard at all. And but he started with 7 people in his class, and he ended up being the only one to graduate. So it might be a little bit harder than it looks. It is definitely hard work. Karen, it's definitely hard work, and it's not the prettiest of jobs. So he does do changing of bedpans and cleaning up when there's messes, and it's kind of interesting to see, picture Devin in that setting. But the ladies all love him. Well, of course, he's cute. Who doesn't love him? But anyways, so he's doing really good. But he's got stories that would make you guys laugh. We have to do it over wine or something, because some of them are completely inappropriate. But he threatens me when I tell him that he might need to pay rent. He threatens me with putting me into almost 3-star rest home. So I have to keep reminding him that it's going to be a lot of years before he gets that opportunity. Kathleen, you're right. It does take a special kind of person to do that job. And I think that because Devin was around all of us for so long, that I think that he just knows how to deal with people, and he's got great customer service skills. But to be 18, he wasn't even supposed to graduate from high school until June. So to be 18 and already be there, and it's kind of exciting. We went to his graduation, and they said that they'll actually pay for him to continue his career path in nursing while he's working there. So that's kind of exciting. Rondi, every woman would love to have Devin take care of them. He's kind of a blank. Here. I don't know which one of these is having a, whoa. Okay. Hang on a second, girls. I'm going to figure this out. I know it lost me. Okay, hang on a second. I don't know why. Are you guys getting a ring? Hang on. I got to do this by myself, so I'm not sure what's going on. Okay. There's still... Oh, the whole camera shut down over here. Okay, hang on a second. You know, I'm not techie. But I don't know why it went to 2. Okay, does that get... That does not take away the ring. Uh-oh, girls. I know it's horrible, Ellen. Okay, here I'm gonna leave. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, now. Okay, let me know if you can hear me now. I don't know what the heck's going on. Okay, Diana, can you hear it now? Okay. Okay. I have no idea. That was so weird how it went to 2 screens when it's only me here. Okay. So anyways, that's all the good news here. My head's cut out, so I gotta lift me up a little bit. Okay. All right. So there's 2 things. Well, there's a few things I want to talk about with you guys. Because thread is one of the things I think that we overlook the most. So there's a lot of, it was totally the gnomes. So thread is something that's super important, and I'm working with Wonder. Oh my gosh, girls. Okay, can you hear me now? Because that is so weird. There's nobody even back here. There's nobody even back there behind the camera to mute it. Okay, I think you can hear me now. Anyway, so I'm just gonna get to the point. Because can you read my lips now? Okay, so there's different weights of threads. So you have 12 weight threads, you have 8 weight threads, you have 100 weight threads, all the different weights of threads. So you want to make sure that you're using the right thread for the right purpose. So the higher the number of threads. So if you use a 100 weight thread, that's going to be super, super fine. Okay. It's almost like the monopoly, but it's a polyester. And see, so the 100 weight is what you would use if you want it to be like an invisible thread. Like if you're doing binding, I would use the 100 weight. If I'm doing applique and I don't want to see my stitches, I would do 100 weight. If I'm doing applique and I want to see the stitches, I would probably do like a 12 weight. Or if I'm doing it by machine, I might do a 40 weight. So I'm just going to throw these numbers out at you guys. I know, Phyllis, it's ghosts or something. I don't know. There's nobody even here. It's so creepy. Anyway, so 100 weight's going to be super fine. You could load 100 weight into your bobbin, but if you do, you're going to get a lot more thread on your bobbin, but you only want to wind it about 3/4 of the way, because otherwise it gets too heavy and it won't like make the complete rotation. So you'll mess up your tension. So if you do use 100 weight or 80 weight in your bobbin, only wind your bobbin about 3/4 of the way full, and you'll have less problems. So you have the 100 weight. Most of us piece with the 50 weight, and you want to piece with cotton. And the reason I'm doing thread today is because I know we all know thread, but the thing is that you got to practice what you preach. And I am the worst at that because I'm so cheap. So I have tons and tons of Oriful threads and Wonderful threads, which are my favorites. I honestly, if you girls can think of what the difference is, for those of you who have used Wonderful and Oriful, if you can type in what you think the difference is, let me know, because I honestly don't think there's a difference except for in price. One's made in Italy, one comes from Canada, but I do not see a difference in their 50 weight cottons. But I was being cheap, and I had gotten a bunch of spools of this tan Metler thread. So, and it said cotton. So I said, oh, I'm just going to use that cotton to do this piecing that I was doing last night. Oh my gosh. So you already know that like rats live in my sewing machine because I don't clean it that often. I really only clean it when I've got a problem, which I know is not the best thing to do because I'm going to tell you to clean it after every project. So I know what I should do, but doing it is two different things. But I used the Metler and there was so much thread. And when I held the strand of it, you could literally see the lint on it. And so then I did kind of a little experiment and I held up the Orifil and the Wonderfil, and they're just smooth. You cannot see any lint. So I'm going to say that you really don't want to use the thread that has more lint. I don't want to say cheaper thread because thread just isn't cheap anymore. But the thread that has more lint on it, and when you hold it up, so I went around the shop and I kind of held up different threads, mostly stuff that has been given to us, and like Coats and Clark. Well, Coats and Clark was really bad. You could really see the lint. So I'm just going to say, I think if you tend to use that thread, you're not going to really notice a problem right away. But it totally filled up my entire under my throat with lint. So usually I can go forever without having to go in and clean it. But with the cheaper threads, I had problems with my tension. I went in, I cleaned out my little thing. And then when I was done, just to look, it was all filled again. So that's just a word of advice from experience. No matter how cheap you are, and I will probably be the cheapest person you'll ever meet because I can't throw anything away. It's just against my nature. But definitely I would give you guys the Mettler threads so you could throw them away. Or invite Lynn over, Lynn who does the Wednesday celebrations. A lot of times she'll take things and I know she's just taking them so she can throw them away because she knows I just can't. So anyways, that was my experience with that. Oh my gosh, Raylene. Okay, check your machine and see if you get a lot of lint. Because I really haven't paid attention, but last night I was sewing a lot and it was super linty. So check, Raylene, and give us a second opinion. Dorothy says she's become a thread snob in the past year. She thinks Aurifil and Wonderfil are interchangeable. Exactly. I couldn't tell a difference. Mettler and Gutermann are now my junk threads. I still love Sulky for embroidery, though. I do love Sulky because it has a nice sheen, but I don't think Sulky is super linty. But I'll have to go and check because I've got a couple of spools that are my favorite. I have one Sulky that is red, gold, and black, and I love that as accents when I'm thread painting. Okay, so anyhow, so 100 weight and 80 weight are going to be super fine threads. 50 weight is going to be what you typically piece with. 40 weight is going to be a little bit heavier. You could still piece with it, but you want to remember if you're and this is kind of what I keep in my mind, if you're a perfectionist sewer, piecer, you're going to want a lighter weight thread in your bobbin and your top because the thread actually adds bulk to your seams. So if all the miniature piecers, people that piece those really tiny quilts that are like this, they use the thinner weight threads. Most of us really just use the 50 weight because that's what we've been taught to use. I mostly use the, a disclaimer. If I was in a perfect world and always had my sewing room set up, I would totally use 100 weight or 80 weight in my bobbin. And then I would use whatever thread I want on top. Because if you have a good machine, it will be able to balance out so you don't have tension problems. Although on my long arm, I will say, I only change the threads, the different weights of threads, if I'm working on a quilt for myself, because it takes a lot of playing with the tension and a lot of time to get it right when you do change the threads. But if you use 100 weight or 80 weight thread, you're really just adding texture, but you won't be able to see it. So I love to quilt my backgrounds, especially on art pieces where I have like a landscape. I'm going to use like 100 weight to quilt the background sky. So it just, you see texture, but it doesn't scream thread. Where if I'm doing thread painting where I want you to see the threads, I'm probably going to use a 12 weight or like Wonderfil. And this is kind of why I love Wonderfil, is because they have all the different weights. So you get 8 weights. Well, they have 3 weights if you want to do hand embroidery. The lowest weight that you can put into your machine through the top is a 12 weight. So I do use 12 weight a lot. And I'll show you some examples. Like for me, it was really good when I teach a thread class, and we do have a class. I'm thinking about doing it April 18th-ish. So let me know if mornings or afternoons are better for you guys. But this is kind of my cheat sheet. So when I teach a thread class, I have you sew a strip of all the different weights and then write it down. That way, when you're going to go do a project, you can say, oh, I'm going to need that 12 weight at the bottom because it really stands out. And then here I did a fancy one. That was back when I had time before, all of Facebook and all that kind of crazy stuff. Okay, so let me see I use Deco Bob and the bobbin for piecing. Dorothy is a perfectionist. So if she uses Deco Bob, and Deco Bob is Wonderfil's 80 weight thread. And you can get pre-round bobbins also if you want. But for me, I don't, I can just wind my own bobbin. I don't know. I've never had an issue with that. I know, Raylene, you wouldn't think that a 50 weight thread really adds bulk, but it does. And so even if it adds a 16th of an inch or a 32nd of an inch on each seam, to us who are really kind of fast, sloppy sewers, those Eleanor would say, for those of us who don't have integrity in our stitches, we don't even notice, and we honestly don't care. But I do know if you want your points to match better, and not struggle with it so much, use the 80 weight in your bobbin. I was actually watching Alex Anderson yesterday morning. She popped up when I was fixing breakfast. And I remember taking classes from her 30 years ago, but she uses 60 weight in her bobbin. So that's coming from a professional. Okay, let's see. Beverly Ann sent Christy a PM. Raylene and Beth, what are your favorite things for people to treat you at the shows? Oh gosh, Raylene, what a question. Well, you know, Cindy, we always love chocolate. Christy says lots of playing with the tension. On the long arm, especially on my domestic machine, I really don't have problems with my tension. Gwen, that's good to know because I bought a Juki and I honestly haven't been able to wind a proper bobbin yet. So I haven't used it. I bought it in September and I haven't used it, but that's good to know that it only likes Aurifil. But Gwen, have you tried Wonderfil? Because I think Wonderfil and Aurifil are basically the same. Let's see. Floriani with her machine. Linda ABC, the Floriani you got was probably machine embroidery thread. And that's a whole different animal. I don't do machine embroidery. I do hand embroidery. But I do use machine embroidery thread for thread painting. So, yeah, Sue says she likes Floriani for machine embroidery. I would think that that would be a good thread. Sue says it tends to shred if you use a needle with a small eye. So you're going to want a larger eyed needle. So with needles, if I love a 70 needle and it's a 70-12, you don't really care about the 12. The 12 is the European number. We only care about 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, really, but they always come 70-12, 80-14, you know, that's how it comes. But the 70 is going to have a really small eye. It's very, very fine. It sews like butter. So if you're piecing and you're methodical and you're careful, like Dorothy, I would think Dorothy would love a 70 needle for piecing. It's my favorite. My problem is I never really piece. I do thread painting. So I literally stitch like this, kind of like I drive. Okay. So if I use a 70 needle, they just snap in half so quick. I do love them because they're fine and they sew amazing. The 80s are going to be a little bit bigger, but they're still going to have a smaller eye. So it just kind of depends on what thread you're putting in it, and how good you can thread your needle, or if you have a machine that will thread the needle for you. If you're using the thicker weights, like a 12 weight or a 28 weight, or like we have, what is the name of it? Oh my gosh. Okay, girls, what's the name of, D-Twist. So we have a thread from Wonderfil called D-Twist. Raylene would like to see that again. So funny. I know it, but that is, have you guys not paid attention when I sew? I kind of sew like this. I know. Don't get in my lane, okay? So anyways, D-Twist is 2 40 weight threads. So you can run 2 threads, 2 40 weight or 2 50 weight threads through your machine. I like to do that on this spool stand. So I have this spool stand, which has two spools where I can put my threads, and then you put your threads through these 2 holes here, and then you just put them together and run them through your machine. And you can totally stitch. If you can thread your needle, and if you have 100 needle, you can totally thread it with 2 threads. But what you're going to find is that one thread kind of lays more on the bottom because that's just the way you've wound it. Because we're not machines, we don't wind it perfectly. But if you get the D-Twist thread, which we have in a bunch of colors, it will they take two 40 weight threads and they twist them around each other evenly. So when you sew with them, they will sew perfectly. So it comes out to be a 20 weight thread. So here on this project here, I don't know if you guys can see, I'm going to see how I've got a black and white thread here. And if I use just a black thread or just a white thread, it would kind of just disappear. But the black and white thread kind of gives it a little bit of texture. You can see it here on the black where it just is black and white. So if it was just a white thread, it'd be really harsh here. It'd be, all you would see is the thread. But this just gives it some fun texture. So the D-twist is two threads that are twisted around each other evenly by a machine, and then go through your needle. Check out Juki Junkie. She has a lot of help. I'm not okay. I will totally check it out. I know Christy told me to join the Juki Junkies, so I'm gonna have to go or find something where I can see how to wind my bobbins. I'm sure there's just one loop or something that I'm missing. I don't know. Just don't use your rayon embroidery thread for piecing or extensive quilting. It will stretch over time. I use it for a little decorative quilting, but not the whole quilt. Good tips, Dorothy. Okay, so anyway, so 100 needle is what you're going to use typically if you're doing a lot of thread painting with the thicker needle, with the thicker thread. So here is a project that I did with a ton of different thread projects going on. So here's these trees here are completely made out of thread and tulle. That's all there is there. There's no fabric. It's just thread and tulle for those little trees. And then the moss and lichen here are just thread. There probably is tulle. I always use tulle only because I'm afraid that if I don't use tulle and I just use wash away and I stitch around it, when I wash away the wash away, all I'm going to have is just big pieces of thread. But that's not true because I experimented with this basket. So with this basket, I took some yarns, I puddled them all on the wash away, then took another piece of wash away, pinned it on the top, and then I just stitched crazy around it. So I had this big piece of wash away with thread and fibers inside of it. Like there is, I think, here I've got some of the Glamour, which is an 8 weight, that metallic-y stuff there. That's the 8 weight, I think, from Wonderfill. So you can't really use that in your top machine because it's too thick, but it's great for couching on different projects and that kind of stuff. So when you do that and you stitch around this, and you can probably find it on one of our YouTubes because I did demo this one. Then when I washed all the wash away, it was this big piece of just thread. So I just took it and I put it over a plastic bin. And when it dried, it just dried in this bowl shape. So it's kind of a fun little project. It was just an experiment to see if when I stitched over all the threads, if I didn't use tulle, if it would just disappear. So it didn't. It does work. I'm probably still going to use tulle for my pine needles and my trees, only because they're so small, I'm afraid. But I know in my head, I know they're not going to just be a piece of thread. They'll still be a pine needle. But just in case, do you use a black latch bobbin for the thicker threads? I have no idea what a black latch bobbin is. I've never heard of it before. But I know if you want to do bobbin work, you can totally do bobbin work with the 8 weight threads. And that's where you take the thread and you hand wind it around your bobbin. And then you sew on your project upside down so that it's sewing on your bobbin. It kind of reminds me sort of like needle punch. It's like thick threads under your project. Then when you flip it over, that's actually the top of your project. I've only done bobbin work once, and you have to get a separate bobbin because you have to change the tension so it will come out. For me, it's too scary of a idea to have to have a separate bobbin just for the bobbin work. And you can't see where you're sewing because you're sewing upside down. You're sewing on the back side of your project. So you can't really see it. So for me, I just haven't, I didn't love the process. So I've never explored it anymore. The threading is stiff, but once you get it, you got it. I piece with my Bernina. I do love the Juki for the speed. Okay, Leslie, I trust you. I trust everybody. Everybody that I know that has a Juki loves them. But everybody says it's a little bit tricky to wind the bobbin. So I am going to the show next week. So I thought at the show I'd make them give me a demo hands-on because I'm a hands-on kind of person. So anyways, you can see this tree here is with the 12 weight threads. So I used a 12 weight for the trunk and then a 12 weight for the pine needles. So that's just kind of a fun thing to know that that the threads are all different. Like here's some threads and some batik fabrics that I just cut up and used the wash away. The wash away is a stabilizer. You put your fibers in the center of your wash away. So you have wash away on the bottom and you have wash away on the top. And then you just stitch randomly, just in circles all around it. So you catch all the pieces. And then when you wash away the wash away, you have this fabulous piece of basically you're creating your own fabrics. So way back when COVID first started, this was one of the very first projects that we showed you. So we created the flower part that same way, and then we just appliqued some stems, and then we just used our thread painting skills to stitch on the vine. So that just makes a quick, fun project. You can make a pillow, you could turn it into a purse or anything, whatever you want to do. All right, so how do we find the weight? So you're going to find the weight. Let me see. So like right here, this is a deco bob and it says 80 weight right there on the top. So right on the top there, Linda, it's going to say 80 weight. This one says, well, Orifil doesn't say, but I'm going to tell you a secret. If it's got the orange, Orifil orange is always 50 weight. And I don't know. Katie says, yeah, right. So it's so easy, Katie. You just need to spend a week with me. Maybe for Katie, you need to spend a month with me. But when you leave, it'll be so easy. So if you have Orifil thread and you wonder how to start it, the bottom pops off, okay? So this is worth your tuning in today, is knowing how to access your wonderful thread. So when you get your wonderful thread, it's always going to be wrapped here like this. And it's a great way to store it so that you don't have a mess. Don't look in my bobbin. Don't look in my thread box here because it's a hot mess. But so that's it. You just pop this off and then your thread's going to be right at the bottom. So I've had a lot of people who just couldn't find the start. So they've had to slash it, but you're actually going to slash it in the middle of the spool and it's not going to be pretty. So don't do that. Thank you, Sandy. We'll do a demo on the 3D pine needles. Black latch is a separate bobbin case so you can adjust screw with no worries about returning to the proper setting for straight stitch. Well, we probably need to have a demo on that. Are one of you girls volunteering to do a demo? Wonderfil Gwen, it's a company out of Canada, and they have literally every thread you could imagine, and they're constantly inventing new threads. The only time that I think you really want to pay attention to your needle, usually I'll just use whatever needle is in my machine. But if I'm using a metallic thread, I always switch to a metallic needle. Otherwise, it's going to shred. So a lot of people say, oh, I don't know. I didn't know that you had to switch your needles. Most of the time, if you can thread it, if I can thread 80 needle with 12 weight thread, I'll probably just thread it and use it. But if it starts shredding, because the smaller ones tend to shred the thicker threads. That's why you want 100 weight. You can even go to 116 needle also. Yes, Kathleen. So Orifil, the orange is always going to be 50 weight. And then the red, and I do have red, but I'm not sure where, but the red is going to be wool. So if you get one of these and it's got a red bottom, it's Orifil's wool thread. But Sue Spargo has a line with Wonderfil. This is an 8-weight thread. So I'm just going to show you the difference. I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's an 80 weight. On the top is an 80 weight. And then the bottom is, I think, an 8, pearl cotton number 8. Let me see about, it's hard to show you girls on the camera, but can you see the top one there is a 50 weight and then the bottom one is an 80 weight. So it does totally make a difference. I looked at all my thread and couldn't find weight, just yard meters. What kind of thread do you have? Linda ABC. So here on the Orifil, on the bottom it says 50 weight 2 ply. So that means they're taking 2 threads and making them 1 thread. That's a 50 weight. This one's an 80 weight. This one here is right there. It says a 12 weight on the top. Gutermann, let me see if I've got a Gutermann. I've got Madeira here, and they do not say anything. All right, girls, look at your threads and see where she would find. I don't know if I have any Gutermann. I have YLI, but it says YLI right there. It says 40 weight /3. That means 40 weight with, but it's 3 ply. I just found on my long arm thread 40 weights. So a 40 weight on your long arm it's going to stand out more. So I typically use 50 weight on my long arm because I kind of want it to disappear. I don't want, especially when I'm quilting for customers, I want their piecing to be what shines. So I try to find whatever thread is going to disappear the best. Yes, the bigger number is finer. So the lower the number, a number 8 or a number 12 is going to be thicker, and then 100 is going to be fine. But it's opposite for your needles. So needles, the lower the number, the smaller the needle. So just because we can't keep anything consistent. I am not finding, wait, here, I think this is a Gutermann one. Okay, Gutermann, I got one here. Well, it's 100% polyester. It does not, it has a color. It has nothing. You are correct, Linda ABC. Gutermann does not say what weight it is. But I'm guessing if it looks like this, it's probably like a 50 weight. Can I call you Wednesday before Wild Wednesday? Yes, Ranji. Yeah, because I'm not doing Wild Wednesday this week, so you can call me anytime. Yeah, well, this one is missing its top and bottom, so that, but I can tell you right from looking at it. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here, I'm going to see if I can get really close because it's super hairy. Nope, you guys can't, no, you can't see it. It's super hairy. Let's see. Nope, even if I put it on something, you can't really see it. So I'm going to venture to say this to me looks like Coates and Clark. But just go look at your threads and see, experiment with your threads because your thread can do a lot of the work for you. All right. Is there a sale this week? Sue, I would like to say yes, but to save my sanity, I'm gonna say no. Can you write a book so I can remember? Yeah, Linda, I'm gonna get right on that. No, we actually do a thread class. We haven't done it in a while, but in the thread class, the class is actually free. You just have to get the book. So this is Wonderfil's book, and look at that. That's the kind of thread painting I want to be able to do when I grow up. So it tells you all the different weights of threads in the book and why you would be using them. So in the thread class, we kind of go over that a lot more, and we have you experiment with different things. But doing something like this or like this, so that you can write down the threads, that way you have something to reference, Linda, so that you can, when you're doing a project, you can say, oh, I want to do, I'm going to tell you, the only thing that I did, and I used to have it here, but I taught a class and I haven't cleaned up my book yet. So I took a class and the teacher said, don't use a variegated thread. Just use the thread that's going to disappear, because you want the texture, but you don't want the thread to scream, because it's going to wreck your little element. I was doing a pumpkin. And I said, oh no, if I'm going to waste my time sewing, I'm going to use the variegated thread, because I want everything I do to show. And the teacher was right, of course. The variegated thread up the pumpkin sides was super distracting. So if you do a cheat sheet like this, then you're going to be able to know what you want to use and why. And it is pretty impressive. Like, you can't even hardly see the monopoly there. So that way you kind of know if you're going to be quilting in the ditch and you don't want to see your mistakes, use the Deco Bob or use the monopoly or use the 100 weight. Gooderman is 50 weight, but it is thicker than Aurifil 50 weight in terms of performance because of how it's made. Dorothy, it's so true. So I even called, I was quilting and I bought 50 weight Aurifil, and I already had every color of 50 weight Wonderfil. I have Wonderfil, all of their solids and all of their variegated in the 50 weight for my long arm. But I thought, oh, I'm going to try Aurifils. Well, Aurifils, I actually even wrote to Scott, the owner, because I said, when I quilted with their 50 weight, it was so much thicker and more pronounced on my long arming, which I really did love, although it did mess up my tension. So I've got to adjust my tension when I use it. But it's super pronounced. It's almost like it's a 40 weight or a 30 weight in the way that it reacts. And he said that's because it was 3-ply. So Wonderfil, I believe, and don't quote me, but I think Wonderfil is a 2-ply and the Aurifil long arm is a 3-ply. So that's why it's more distinguishable. Okay, girls, you're welcome, Linda. We try to teach you something every day, because I think the more you know, the more you're going to sew and the happier you're going to be, because you're going to be more successful. So even if you're not going to be using thread painting right now, somewhere in your toolbox, you've got it stored so that when you have a project and you say, hey, I just want to do a little bit of thread painting, you can totally do that. So I'm just going to show you really quick, because we are a hot mess. Like, all I do is take Roger to doctor appointments and now I have to pick Gracie up, and I have to go do mail runs. You don't realize how much everybody else actually does to make your life easier. So here is my redwoods that I took from a class from Donna Greenwald, and that is all super thread painted. So, oops, sorry guys. Someday I'll learn how to video. Okay, where'd you go? So here, I'm going to pull it out of the tripod. So if I get in close, see how all the thread painting, the thicker threads really kind of help with the definition of the veins. And then the moss, again, is just thread like we showed you. And then here on the tree trunk, we used all kinds of fibers and texture magic. Well, it's called fabric magic now. Um, but you really want to add, I think, thread painting to your repertoire just because it opens up a lot of fun things for you. Okay, so that's it. Um that is my spiel on threads. Um, and I think there's no more questions. Hopefully Roger is well enough that he can come be the videographer again, or Gracie can stop having a good time with her girlfriends. Because it's hard to be a one person show. The more I hear something, the more it sticks in my head. Good, Sue. That's why I had to do the 60-degree ruler 1,001 times. Because every time you see it, it opens up other possibilities, and it reminds you, because a lot of times we buy things, but we don't get right to them. So that's kind of our thing, is what, you've got to hear it a couple times, or 1,001. So anyways, I have no giveaways because the giveaway boxes are empty, but I will work on that for Wednesday. So Wednesday, I'm trying to get a guest speaker, because I don't want to do a sale, only because it's too hard to pack for 2 back-to-back shows and do a sale. So that's it. Thanks for the one person show you. Thank you, Dorothy. I love you guys. Are always so supportive. I do have to show you, though. Mary Beatty got me a gift and dropped it off the other day. I don't know really what you guys are trying to say here, but look at that. Thank you, Mary. I know you're not on right now, but thank you. And let's see, what else? I think that's it. Yeah, we'll see you. If you guys haven't gotten your tickets for the after party in Sacramento next week, get them, because we are going to be closing that out pretty soon, because the vendors need to know how many goodie bags they need. Hey, Benny, it's good to see you. Severe thunder and tornado watches here, so maybe no power in a minute. Yes, Benny, it's going to be on Facebook for the rest of my life, except for Facebook might purge it like they purged my viewers. Yeah, Raylene says we need an account for the other vendors for the goodie bags. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, make sure you get them. The after party is going to take place not this Friday, but the next Friday in Sacramento, 6:30 to 8:30. We've got a ton of vendors that are going to be attending the after party. So I think it's going to be really kind of fun. You'll be able, when we're in our booth, we're super busy, and, we're trying to make the sale so we can pay our booth rent and make a little bit of money for new shoes. So we don't always have a lot of time to chit chat in the booth. So that's what's going to be kind of exciting about the after party, is that it's 2 hours. We are going to have some games and some treats. If you want to bring some more treats, bring treats, whatever. We're super open. This is our first time doing an after party, so we are experimenting on you guys. Sue, do not worry. You get a personal party in Lindsay. You get to come to we have rented a house on a working zoo. And so we will be doing, don't worry, Sue, just keep probably Friday night available. I know, an Oscar after the party. That's kind of what it is. Hello, just roll with us. We always have a good time, Ronji. Lynn got her tickets. Okay. I know there's quite a few of you on here that have your tickets already. All right. So have a good night. Get some sewing done. We will see you on Wednesday at 4 for something fabulous. I'm not sure what. Okay. All right. Have a good night, girls. Bye.